Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This PC government failed to consult with First Nations while developing legislation about a consultation levy with First Nations. The irony of this is so overwhelming, Mr. Speaker, that even the most trusting and optimistic observers are rolling their eyes. To the Minister of Aboriginal Relations, can you tell this House and First Nations why, when developing legislation regarding consultation with First Nations, they failed to consult First Nations?
Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I won't talk about the levy because it's being debated before the House right now, but Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that in the last year I've spent all my time on the landscape visiting with First Nation communities, meeting with Métis settlements, talking to chiefs and communities, and Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that the Premier's, one of her mandates to me is to make sure that we put a proper consultation process in place that deals with the socio-economic problems that our First Nations face in this province and this country. And I can say to you, Mr. Speaker, that we will continue to consult with First Nations, and we will make sure we have programs, the education and tools in place to make sure First Nations have a proper place at the table.
Mr. Speaker, given that on Friday the Minister of Aboriginal Relations told this Assembly that this PC government had consulted with Treaties 6 and 8, and given that Treaties 6 and 8 stated they were not consulted on this government's newest policy affecting a First Nations consultation levy, Mr. Speaker, is the Minister calling Treaties 6 and 8 liars?
Let's be careful with our words, honourable members. Minister, would you wish to dignify that with an answer?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can say to you that I have consulted with Treaty 7, Treaty 8 and Treaty 6 at the Grand Chief level. I can't tell you that we've talked about the levy. I can't tell you that we've talked about the levy within our technicians' meetings with all the different 3 treaty organizations. We've talked to the chiefs about the levy. Mr. Speaker, if there's any issue, there might be some misinformation between the meetings between the technicians and the chiefs. But I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, that since we started this consultation process, we've been very clear with the First Nations about the levy, and we've been very clear to industry about the levy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, that's not what they're telling the opposition. Given that for years this PC government has refused to treat First Nations as equal partners or to engage them in meaningful consultation, and given that First Nations are fed up with being ignored and patronized by this government, to the same minister, when will this government end its hypocritical and dishonest relationship with First Nations and finally treat them as equal partners?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't like the word dishonest, and I think maybe the member should be careful of some of the words he uses in his questioning. But I will say this, Mr. Speaker, is that we have a very healthy relationship with the First Nations province, and we continue to build that relationship. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that our Premier and her Cabinet met with the First Nations on December 1st of last year. I can tell you that I have visited now 30 First Nation communities in this province, Mr. Speaker, and I can tell you that the respect and the trust is growing, and we will continue to work with our First Nation partners to make sure they have the seat at the table and that we solve the socio-economic problems that they're facing today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.